When you think about ancient India, you think about empires, warriors, elaborate rituals, a society built on rigid hierarchy and constant conflict, kings waging war over territory, merchants competing for survival, a world where status was everything, and losing face could mean losing everything. Not exactly a place known for stillness. Not exactly a culture you would expect to produce the most unshakable human beings ever recorded. But somehow, from that noise, from that chaos, emerged a tradition so focused on inner stillness that it spread across an entire civilization and outlasted every empire that tried to suppress it. Men and women so grounded, so completely unbothered by the world around them, that people would walk for weeks, just to sit in their presence. Not to ask them questions, not to receive wisdom, just to feel what it was like to be near someone who had genuinely run out of things to fear. Generals sought them out before battles, emperors invited them to court, and then felt humbled in their own throne rooms. Merchants, who had built fortunes through ruthlessness, sat at their feet and felt, for the first time, like the poorer man in the room. And the strangest part? These yogis had nothing, no armies, no wealth, no political power, no influence in any conventional sense. By every external measure, they were the least powerful people in the room. And yet everyone who encountered them knew, immediately, instinctively, that they were in the presence of someone who could not be touched, someone who needed nothing from them, someone who was completely, immovably free. I want to break down exactly what their method was, where it came from, and most importantly, how you can use it today, in any situation that is making you anxious, because this is not ancient philosophy collecting dust somewhere. This is a precise psychological practice, and once you understand it, you will never walk into a difficult room the same way again. The diagnosis. To understand the method, you first have to understand the diagnosis, because the yogis were not just teaching people how to relax, they were solving a specific problem, and they were ruthlessly precise about what that problem actually was. It was never the situation you were facing, never. It was your relationship to the outcome. Think about the last time you felt genuinely nervous before something, a difficult conversation, a presentation, a job interview. Be honest with yourself. Were you actually afraid of the event? Or were you afraid of a particular result? Afraid of being embarrassed? Afraid of being rejected? Afraid of being seen a certain way by people whose opinion you care about? That is the real fear, not the room, what the room might take from you. The yogis called it the grip. And here is what makes their insight so striking. That grip, that desperate, invisible grip you have on a specific outcome, is exactly what makes the worst outcomes more likely, because everyone in the room can feel it. The moment you walk in needing something, needing approval, needing to win, needing to not fall apart, you have handed power to every single person in that room. You did not wait for them to take it, you offered it, and whether they are conscious of it or not, they will use it, because that is just what people do. The yogi walked into the same rooms with empty hands, and nobody knew what to do with that. The tradition. The tradition that codified all of this was yoga. Not the yoga most people think of today. Not the postures, not the studio, not the flexibility. The original system, compiled by a scholar named Patanjali in the early centuries of the Common Era. He wrote it down in a text called the Yoga Sutras, 196 short aphorisms, deceptively simple on the surface. And the very second sutra, placed right at the beginning, as if to say, this is the entire point, reads, Yoga's chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is the stilling of the fluctuations of the mind, not the elimination of thought, not the suppression of feeling, the stilling of the noise, the constant agitation of a mind that is always grasping for something, or running from something. Patanjali said the disturbed mind and the grasping mind are the same mind. Show me someone who is anxious, and I will show you someone who is gripping an outcome so tightly they can barely breathe. He called the alternative vairagya, usually translated as non-attachment. But that translation has always bothered me, because it sounds passive, like you just stop caring. Vairagya is the opposite of that. It is an active, daily discipline of releasing the grip, of training yourself over and over to be fully present in a situation, while needing nothing from it. You can still work hard. You can still want to win. You can pour everything you have into something and still hold the outcome loosely, still be willing to let it go. That combination, total effort with total non-attachment, was considered the highest form of human functioning. And the people who got there did not become passive or indifferent. They became formidable because they were the only ones in the room not being controlled by fear. Fearlessness. There is a related concept called abhaya, fearlessness, but not the kind people usually imagine. Abhaya does not mean danger stops existing. It does not mean you never feel that initial flicker of fear in your chest. It means fear has no grip on you. It shows up, you see it clearly, and it moves through without taking the wheel. The yogis had a way of describing this that has always stayed with me. They said the untrained mind is like the surface of a lake in a storm. Every wind creates waves. Every little thing that happens out there disturbs everything in here. You cannot see the bottom. You cannot see anything clearly. You are just reacting endlessly to wave after wave. The trained mind is the same lake. In stillness, the wind still blows, life still happens, but the surface does not react. And in that stillness, you can see all the way to the bottom. You can see exactly what is happening, exactly what matters, and exactly what to do about it. That is why these people were sought out before battles, before crises, before high-stakes negotiations, not because they were detached, because they could see clearly when no one else could. Everyone else was watching waves. The method. The specific method Patanjali lays out is called Pratipaksha, bhavana, cultivating the opposite. The idea is simple. When a negative or fearful thought arises, you do not fight it. You do not stuff it down. You deliberately cultivate its opposite. You go toward the fear instead of away from it. Applied to anxiety, it works like this. Something is making you nervous. Instead of distracting yourself or pushing the feeling away, you sit with it and you follow it. You ask, what exactly am I afraid of here? And then what happens if that occurs? And then what? And then what after that? You keep pulling the thread until you reach the actual end of the fear. Not the scary middle part your mind keeps circling, but the real end point. And almost every time, what you find at the end is something survivable, something ordinary, not a cliff, just life, with different conditions. Therapists today call this decatastrophizing. They arrived at the exact same place, independently, because the mechanism is real. Most anxiety is not about where things end up. It is about the transition, the sting of the moment, the embarrassment, the uncertainty. But those are not endpoints. They are just events. And every event, no matter how bad it feels, eventually passes. Follow the fear all the way to its true conclusion, and it loses its power over you. Not because you have suppressed it, because you have outrun it. The story. There is a story about a student who came to a well-known yogi, barely able to hold himself together. He was about to face a public humiliation. A significant mistake he had made was going to be called out, in front of people whose respect meant everything to him. He came to the yogi shaking. He said, "I cannot face this. The shame will be unbearable. What if everyone in that room thinks badly of me after this?" The yogi looked at him with complete steadiness and said, "And then what?" The student blinked. "They will lose respect for me. And then what? My reputation will suffer. And then what? My work will become harder. People will trust me less. And then what? The student went quiet for a long time. He followed the thread all the way forward. He looked for the next catastrophe and could not find one, because there was not one. There was difficulty. There was discomfort. There was rebuilding. But there was no cliff. Just life continuing with different conditions. The yogi said, "You came to me terrified of a story your mind invented. The story ends before it reaches anything you cannot survive." The student walked into that meeting, and because he was no longer braced for annihilation, he was the calmest person in the room, and that changed everything about how the room responded to him. Why it unsettles people. Here is what I want you to really understand about why this unsettles people, because this is the part that sounds strange, until you have felt it yourself. We are constantly reading each other. Every single interaction below conscious thought, we are scanning. How much does this person need from me? What is their pressure point? What do they want? And when someone walks in clearly needing something, needing the deal, needing the validation, needing to not look foolish, we feel it immediately, and we gain leverage without even deciding to. But when someone walks in needing nothing, truly, genuinely, needing nothing, something shifts in the room. The usual calculations do not work. There are no pressure points to find, nothing to withhold, nothing to use. And that creates a specific sensation in people that they cannot quite name, but absolutely feel. A kind of quiet unease, because we are simply not used to someone who has completely opted out of the game. They are not performing calm. They are not white-knuckling their way through it. They did the work before they walked through the door, and they arrived, already free. And freedom, in a room full of people who are grasping, is the most disorienting thing in the world. The practice. Here is the practice, as simple as I can make it. Before anything that is making you anxious, find 10 minutes, sit down, breathe, and work through these questions honestly, one at a time. Do not rush them. First, what outcome am I afraid of? Say it out loud if you have to. Name it specifically. Second, if that happens, then what? Follow it. Third, and then what? Keep going. Keep pulling that thread until you land somewhere that sounds like life continues. I figure it out. I survive. Then ask yourself, can I actually survive that? Almost always, honestly, the answer is yes. Then ask, is the energy I am spending gripping this outcome, costing me more than just letting it go would? And finally, the most important question, how would I show up? How would I speak? How would I carry myself if I had already made peace with every possible outcome and needed absolutely nothing from this situation? That last question is the whole practice, because whoever that person is, that is exactly who you need to be when you walk into the room. The yogis spent lifetimes on this. You will not get there overnight, but you will feel it the first time you genuinely apply it. The first time you walk into a room having already let go of the outcome, and you notice the difference in your own body, the looseness, the quiet, the absence of that low hum of dread that usually follows you in. You will understand exactly what they were pointing at, and the people in that room will feel it too. They will not know what to call it, but they will sense that something is different about you, that there is nothing to take, nothing to use, nothing to hold over you. The person who needs nothing from the room is the only person the room cannot control. That is the yogic method, not mysticism, not a performance, a practice available to anyone that changes everything about how you move through the world. If this resonated, please subscribe so more people can find it. Thank you for watching.